Hi, everyone. I'm Nez,
And I'm Ray.
and welcome to the Unstable Podcast.
Let's get into it.
So, on the docket for today, why don't you tell them what we have for today?
Um, well, today we're gonna get into the reason why we have been friends for so long, and that's because we crossed paths as athletes at CU Boulder. And if
Pew, pew,
that
pew,
never would have
pew.
happened, only God knows where we would
Yeah,
be at this time.
I
So
don't think we would have rolled in the same circles if we weren't both athletes.
listen. I can't even imagine where would I who who would have I hung out with?
Like, I'm just thinking, like, we would have seen each other at different functions. Like, what would you have thought
You
about
think?
each other? Like, what would we have thought about each other?
I don't know if I would have approached you. If it would have been outside of athletics, we probably would have met in like a bathroom. Be like, girl,
We'd be
your
like,
outfit's
you're
so
so
cute.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
outside of that, I guess I'm taking a step back to think if I were friends with just like the people I went to class with. I don't even think I spoke to anybody in my classes.
Me
So.
neither. Me neither. I spoke to them because I kind of had to, for like projects and stuff. But I was like, let me go find my people over a Dow.
Yeah.
Anywho,
So,
we were supposed to report where we're calling from because clearly we're not together this week.
no, we are not together. I'm in the sunshine state of Florida. Where are you, Nez?
I'm in North Carolina for this month. Doing some things.
What you doing?
I'm doing a rotation at Wake Forest.
For what?
Surgery.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Pretty
cool.
Just out here trying to be a doctor or whatever.
She's saving lives.
Oh, not currently. Not currently. One day. One day.
Anywho, I'm in Florida. She's in North Carolina as we record this podcast.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe we should start with how we even got into athletics. How
Yeah.
this journey really started for us. Do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay.
So if y'all don't know, which you probably don't, I was a tennis player. And I played tennis from the time I was probably 5 years old is when I started watching Miss Venus and Serena on TV and just decided that that's what I wanted to do. So pretty much from the time I was 5, we didn't start playing like tennis tournaments and everything and traveling for that stuff until about like 10 years old. But it was full-time gig, like playing these junior tennis. For those people who play junior tennis, you will understand. It is a grind every weekend in the car, 3-4 hours, South Florida, playing these other little girls.
Not little girls.
We was little girls, 10 years old. Why am I
I
out there
guess you're right.
stressed at 10? I'm stressed at 10. Like, there's no reason for that.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out junior tennis. So glad I never have to do that myself again. But yeah, that's really where my tennis days started. I think I was always going to be an athlete because my parents were athletes. And so I don't know. I think it wasn't really a choice like, are you going to play a sport? It was just like, which one are you going to play and are you going to love it kind of thing? And like, how far are you going to go with it? Yeah, we were voluntold that we were going to be athletes. But I'm grateful for it. I really am. Like, if I didn't have sports, I don't think I would be who I am and where I am today. So that's pretty much how I got into tennis and athletics. Like, I played other sports when I was in like elementary school, but tennis was like the one. So, yeah. Your turn.
She's just been balling since she could walk. Unlike myself. So I never had plans to be an athlete. See, my passion, my first love was dance, and I was a ballet dancer for 4 years.
That's athletics, friend. That's athlete.
Okay, athletics, art, whatever you
gotta be
want
an
to call
athlete
it.
to do some things on your toes, okay?
And I was on my tippity toes, okay? And I remember my dance teacher was like, Rejana, you gonna stop growing? And I was like, I don't know. Because if you do not know, I'm 5'10" and a half, says the doctor. And ballerinas are tiny. So, anyways, I had to stop dancing for reasons we won't speak about right now. But I had to stop dancing right before high school. Then I got into high school and tried out for the volleyball team. Again, I'm 5'10". Tried out for the volleyball team, got cut. Was sad because I'm a sensitive person.
That's rude of them.
And I was speaking to one of the coaches that I just started to get to know, who was a cross country coach. And he's like, come run. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Come on. So I ended up running cross country my freshman year of high school. Wow. And then that led into track because, you know, they're related. Ran into track, and then sophomore year I got into basketball because my track coach was my basketball coach. So then all throughout high school I just started doing athletics, but track was my main gig. But it does run in my family. So my mom ran track, my older brother ran track, and he was a football player. And I have some aunts that did track and field in high school. So it's in the family, and they were very excited.
That was just runners.
Yes, that track and field was now my focus. So, yeah, did all that throughout high school and then got recruited. But that is the beginning of my story with athletics.
Which kind of segues into like the next part I was going to ask you about. Like, so you're talking about how you got into your sport specifically in high school, which is, I feel like that's half the time, you know, like half the time, depending on what sport it is, half the time people really get into it when they start high school. And the other half the time, depending on the sport, people get into it prior to that. So how would you say that you feel that high school track and how you participated and showed up as a student athlete in high school was compared to going into collegiate track?
I was very fortunate to have a coach in high school. Well, I had a couple of coaches because I was mid-distance / sprints, and a jumper, like a high jumper specifically. So I had 2 coaches in high school, and both of them super talented, and shout out to them. Found for Carson High School. And still work there, coaching the young kids, superstars of the future. I was blessed because my sprint coach specifically was very intentional about his training, and I think his style of training really prepared me for college. Because I also ran with one of my best friends, who was a guy, and I trained with him through high school, and I ran against him to become fast and to develop my skills. So
he's great.
Yeah, shout out to Dwayne.
So
I was fortunate to have that in high school, and I had fun in high school. Like, I had fun. I think track was my coping skill for the stressors that were going on in my life. So I would just put it all out there and leave it on the track. And I think that's where a lot of my positive self-talk also started. So I think that translated fairly well into college athletics, because my second year of undergrad, I got to run with my best friend again. So it gave me a little taste of high school and that competitive feel of running with someone I'm familiar with. But then also the training style that I had in high school, I feel translated very well. Maybe almost over-prepared me for college athletics.
Yeah.
Where I was almost not used to running with the ladies that I would train with in undergrad, because I was running with the guys. But of course,
Right.
college athletics is a step up, and many people are recruited, and now you're in the top percent of some really phenomenal athletes.
Yeah.
So I had a good foundation. There obviously are differences, but transition wise, I did fairly well. There were some pros and cons, which I'm sure we'll get into, but I was fortunate with the coaching I've had, because they came back to me later, and some of the athletes too, and asked how our transition was from high school to college athletics for the people who did go to college. And I
Oh,
had,
your high school
yeah,
coach and team and them asked you about that.
yeah. I my high school coach was doing a talk or something at a college in
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, and just wanted our opinions on it. So he contacted former athletes who did go to college after high school, and just was trying to get some feedback. How do they feel they were trained? How is training now compared to how they were trained in high school? And all I could say is that it was fairly similar to what I was doing in high school. So some short story long, I had a great foundation. Had a great foundation, and again, we'll get into pros and cons of college athletics, because I think it is absolutely different.
Yeah.
But I was prepared as well as I would have hoped to have been prepared for the transition.
Which I don't think a lot of people can say, honestly. I feel like it's usually a big jump for people,
Yeah.
um, going from high school to college athletics. So I think that's like kudos to your coach and the staff that, that was there for your high school, because it's like a hard jump. Like, it's hard to get used to.
Right.
So I think that's good on them that your experience was like a nice, easy transition over.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was
What
not,
about you?
on the other hand.
So I love having these conversations with you, because completely different storylines on how we got to where we are.
Oh man,
So,
mine was not what I would call an easy transition. I mean, we talked about it previously. Like, I didn't even start at Colorado. I started at University of Texas El Paso. Shout out UTEP, because I really did have a great time there. But the question started with high school. So, fun fact: I was homeschooled. Not sure if I would recommend or not. We'll get into that at a later
I was
time.
homeschooled to eighth grade. Again, maybe
I
we
feel like
had
I
different.
turned out all right. I feel like I turned out all right. A lot of
You
time I
turned
feel like
out
there's a
great, friend.
misconception that we are weirdos. But like,
Weirdos.
I
People are
was
like, you're
socializing.
normal.
Like, don't do me like
Thank you.
that.
Thanks.
I promise I had some semblance of a social life. It just wasn't y'all's.
See, my question is, am I normal? Am I? And what
That's
is normal?
exactly. Exactly. So yeah, like with tennis, I was homeschooled from 6th grade all the way through high school. So, and the main reason why we did that is because with tennis, depending on where you are, if you're not in a place where it's like a really big thing in high school, you're going to miss too much school traveling for tournaments. And I was lucky and fortunate enough to have some people who were able to fund outside of my family, but people who were able to fund me like traveling. So I was lucky. As I was homeschooled, I was traveling internationally, like playing tennis tournaments, professional tennis tournaments. So I think my experience in high school was a little bit different, because I felt like it, not that it forced me to, like, in a bad way, but I grew up like faster than I think other people in high school did a little bit. Because I couldn't just be the like naive girl traveling to different countries not knowing what's going on. Like, I had to know what's going on and figure out how to navigate in the world outside of like my tiny little circle. So I feel like that was very helpful. But I was playing grown women at 16 years old. Okay, so it's kind of a grind playing, prior to college, because your main goal is like, oh, I'm going to play professionally, like, and when you're between like 15 and 18, the grind is like, let me get a ranking as high as I can so I don't have to go to college, kind of thing. Because previously there was a misconception that like going to college meant you can't play pro. And I think that's changing, which is really good for the game now, because there's a lot of college players in pro tennis now. But besides the point, my transition was rough because prior to going to college, tennis was individual, just me, me, me. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you transition from me, me, me to now I need to be team, team, team. Okay. And I need to like support the team. It's about the team. It's not about me. I could lose my match and the team wins, and I need to be happy for the team. So that was a tough transition. I think my first year, because you get so caught up in like, I want to get these accolades and I want to win these matches and I want to be the reason, but it's not really about you. Like, yes, you need to win for the team to win, but it's about the vibes of the team and how you play for each other and how you do that. So I think that was a learning point. The other learning point was I went from not going to school, like I was in the comfort of my house, to you need to go to class. That was difficult for me. The showing up for class piece, I got in trouble several times.
Okay.
Several times,
Okay. Did you have
especially
the
when I came to
social
Colorado.
anxiety?
No, not even that. It was just
I would
like
take you
people
as
are
somebody who
telling me where I need to be, and I don't like that
Oh. So
because
it's a
I didn't
control
have that. It was
factor.
just kind of like go to practice, do your homework whenever. The homework always got
Gotcha.
done, but they didn't tell me I had to be somewhere at a certain time all the time.
You know, I could see that because the ADHD in you was gonna fight that every
Yeah,
chance it got.
yeah.
Okay, that's all right. I do have a
But
question.
go, go
Sorry,
ahead
just
for it. Go for
relating
it.
back to your high school experience to college. Do you feel like going from playing like grown women to then in being in college was a, I don't want to say step down because I know you were still challenged, but like,
Right.
do you feel like the competition was different? I don't know if different is good or bad, but
Yeah.
like,
I see what
because
you're
you're,
saying. I
this
think
feels like a high level.
yeah, it was, but at the same time, I think this is part of what had to change in my mentality because you know, in a way that it was framed like college is like like the backup plan. Like no one wants to go play college tennis. You want to play professional tennis. And so in your mind, you're like, well, if I want to play pro tennis, I should be beating all of these college players. Like I should be winning all my matches. But that's not really the case. Like anybody can win a tennis match on any given day.
Yeah.
And as like I said, like the game is evolving now. So many players go to college and come out and make it on the tour. But that wasn't really the case like prior to me going to college. I think that's more of a new thing. So dealing with that was a lot, especially after I transferred from UTEP to Colorado, because just the nature of it, like the Pac-12 was a stronger conference, so you're going to be playing better players. And coming off a great season my freshman year, that was also something I had to like come to terms with. So yeah, I would say my transition was a little bit rougher. Not in the sense that I didn't feel like I could train or hang with the girls or, that kind of thing, but more so like learning how to
Different
be
pace.
on a team, learning how to be somewhere at a certain time, learning how to go to class and actually like be a real life in-person student as opposed to just doing stuff virtually. I think
Yeah.
that piece was hard for me more so than the participating and playing tennis piece.
Because rolling out of bed and going to your dining room table versus rolling out of bed, having to put on a jacket, boots, clothes,
Get on the
where you
bike.
can tolerate the weather, it's different. And still make it to class, that's different.
At that 8
That's different.
a.m.? What? Whew. Yeah, no.
You
That
know
was
what
rough.
got me? Hold on a minute. You hit a nerve. You know what got me is convincing myself that I went to class at 7:38 in high school. I can do an 8 a.m. class.
No.
Let me tell you, after that first semester of 8 a.m. class,
No.
you ain't see me in 8 a.m. class unless I had to. I tried every other route. Every other route.
Friend,
at 8
I
a.m.
didn't even have the whole going to class at 7:30 thing. I knew an 8 a.m. wasn't going to work for me. I knew it.
See? At least you were honest with yourself. I'm just like, I
I
did
knew
this
it.
before.
It's not going to
No,
work.
ma'am. So interesting. Even though we've been friends for a long time, I don't know if we've gone this in depth about your transition from high school into
Yeah,
college.
no, I
But
agree.
I can see how that was a huge adjustment. And again, I was homeschooled until 8th grade, but I had that space before
Mm-hmm.
college to just get prepared with the social factor, to get
Right.
prepared for attendance and managing athletics. So,
Yeah.
but listen, if you would have met her when I did, you wouldn't have been able to tell. She was just she was just doing the thing. And she's still doing the thing.
I was
She's
living
still
my
doing
best
it.
life, man.
She still amazes me to this day on how she balances her life. Like, there are things I could learn from her, okay?
So,
Truly.
but anyway.
Let's talk about our recruiting experiences.
Yes.
And I don't know how that unfolded, how your recruiting experience was at CU, or if you were recruited by any other places, if you want to compare that. Um, but yeah, what about recruitment?
You want me to go?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right.
I
All
do
right.
want you
All
to
right.
go.
So because you know me, can't stay in one place long. I had 3 different recruiting experiences.
Wow.
So there was my freshman year recruiting experience, which I decided late that I was going to go to college. So I probably could have got more recruiting, um, but I decided late. So I think, and it's crazy because the coach who recruited me at UTEP, like I can't remember all the schools I went to. I went for a few visits, but the coach that recruited me to UTEP, where I ended up going, I think like a month or 2 after I signed, she left and a new coach came, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I was like, you know what, but like, let me just stay committed. You know what I mean?
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. And it was a tough decision too, because there was other schools that I was like being recruited by. They email you, come for a visit, this is what your life will be like, this is how you'll play, da 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 da.
Yeah.
They really lay it on thick, I tell you that.
Oh. Sure.
And everybody puts on their best face for recruitment, and it's not. And I have perpetrated this as well, and it's not just.
I was gonna say.
It's not just the coaches; it's the players too. Okay?
I was about to say they recruit their best sales team.
Yes.
And I was a part of that sales team.
And I was a part of that. I
was a
can't
part
even
of it.
lie.
But I had to say, I love CU. Like,
Yes.
everyone has pros and cons. Not that I was
do.
lying, but I get what you're saying. Keep
Yes.
going.
We laid on
Keep
thick.
going.
So it was a big deal. Like the coach was a big part of the reason why I went there, and for her to leave and somebody else come who I have no idea who they are was really hard for me to like decide what I was going to do.
Yeah.
But it all worked out. My recruiting, I'll skip to my recruiting to Colorado because I again decided to enter the transfer portal late in the season. So it was kind of it was a blessing that CU, was still looking for players, looking for transfers, because I didn't really have that many offers in terms of my transferring.
Did you have to sit out a year?
No,
I
you
just
don't have to
remembered,
for
like,
tennis.
Okay, that was a random thought. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't there a?
Yeah,
There was.
as long as
I don't
you
even think there is now.
transfer, there's not anymore because I remember it was big with football and basketball. They had to sit out for sure. But for tennis, as long as you transferred to a different conference, you didn't have to sit out at all. So that worked out perfectly because I didn't have that many offers. And I remember coach coming, calling me, coming out to my home to like watch me practice, talk to my family and everything. That was a different experience because I was in a good position because I had a great season, but I entered so late in the transfer season that it was looking kind of bleak there for a minute. And then, so that was a different experience, but not a bad one. It was still a good one. And then my transfer for my 5th year, that one was harder because transferring for your 5th year, transferring for your master's, it's you have to get into the program on your own merit, on your
Mm.
own. Like you have to get into the school before they can be like, okay, you can play for us, kind of thing. So that one was hard too, because you're like you have to convince these coaches that hey, you're going to get into the program and you'll be able to play for them while doing like a graduate level like coursework as well. That one was very stressful because for a minute there I was like, I don't know if it's gonna work out.
Now knowing what you know now, are you grateful you did it that other year? Would you have wanted to do your master's just masters or indifferent?
Oh no, I was not ready to hang up the rackets, so I was not. No, I was not ready. So I was like, regardless, I am getting this master's and playing. Period.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
needs to be done.
to
Stay,
see it
transfer, whatever. Gots to see it through. I am going to take what I can from NCAA. Okay. And they gave me 2 degrees. Thank you.
As you should. Thank you. Shout out to NCAA.
Shout out NCAA.
Honestly, it was a fair trade-off because they was taking what they needed to take.
A little bit of my sanity, but that's okay.
Okay.
Your recruiting experience.
Oh man. Okay, so junior year of high school, I gotta start there because there's a reason. Junior year of high school, everyone's like, "Oh, you like? What are you gonna do for?" I'm like, "I'm gonna go to community college, and I'm gonna just." I don't even know what I said. I was gonna get a degree in at that time. I don't remember, but I remember my high jump coach coming to me after state my junior year and was like, look, here are all the cards of the people who are interested in you and potentially want to pay for school. And I said, cha-ching.
maybe not community college.
Because again, I used to call myself a part-time athlete only because I enjoy my sport. It was a coping mechanism for me. Like I ran and I ran. I was fully there. But I also feel like it was a second to my initial like wanting to dance. So that's why coming out of high school, I was like, you know, I'll be end on a good note, you know.
Yeah.
I'll be good with track.
This has been good.
It's all right. Yeah, it's been good. But then my high jump coach was like, people are interested in you, you know. And I had a few offers. I did 2 physical recruits, and then I had one recruiter come to me. I was being recruited by Loyola University in Boston.
It's somewhere out this way.
Yeah, I was being recruited by them. They came to me. I forget why I didn't go out there. Or maybe I was planning to go out there, but they came out first. Spoke with them. And then I got recruited by CSU.
Sucks to be a CSU Ram.
Sucks to be a CSU Ram. I got recruited by CSU, and they laid it on thick and made some connections with the coaches there. There was actually a former CU athlete that was in training there at the time. So, I if I recall correctly, I ended up asking kind of her perspective on things, which, of course, you know, laying it on thick, you're going to focus on the school that you're at the time. My last trip was to CU Boulder. And I remember going out with my mom, meeting Coach, and me and Coach connected very well. Like and to this day, I'll say this, is like my coach was very in tune with me beyond athletics. She knew I had a passion for dance. She got me into meet some of the dance teachers, but she got me in there. I remember going and seeing like a class, and I was with Coach, and I was with my mom. She had set up all these things, and was very much like, you know, you would be the first student athlete dance major we've had, but you know, if it's something you want to do, it's possible. And she was willing to work around whatever the schedule was for athletics. And I think that showed a lot of her character as a person. And she's an artist, so we bonded over that too. So that was cool. um, and yeah, we had the whole thing, the game, the everything, bells and whistles, bells and
Thick.
whistles. Um, Dinner at Pasta J's.
Oh, I love that place.
Shout out to Pasta
I
J's.
miss that place.
You know, and I remember having this moment with my mom because, again, I'm coming from a single parent household. And you know, we did not have the funds to go CU Boulder, go D1, go. So my mom, I remember her just like looking at me as like, if you decide to go here, we will figure it out. She's like, if this is what you want to do, we will figure it out. And I remember we were in the old training room, the old one that looked out in front of the stadium. That's now like seating area.
Yeah.
And I remember being out there talking to her in my Letterman jacket from high school. And yeah, we decided it, and right then and there, I was just like, ready to be a Buffalo.
Sold.
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 But yeah, it more than like the bells and whistles of like CU Boulder, I will say, and I tell her this to this day, Coach Malone, if you're listening to this, because she's still at CU, go Buffs. Her character and her willingness to really meet me where I was at beyond athletics is what pulled me to Boulder. And she's been very, you know, interested in even life after, like commenting on things like I've visited CU before since I've graduated, and phenomenal. Just as a person. So that's my story of going, don't want to go to school for athletics, to like full-blown committing, doing recruiting trips and signing on signing day.
Wow, that was a time. Wow.
It was a time. I'm pretty sure I have my poster rolled up somewhere with everyone who signed for my high school. Like, good luck.
Me too.
You're the best. You're my role model. I'm just kidding. No.
Me too. Mom, Dad, and Jada.
You know, I know you was the top of your class, girl. I know you was a valedictorian.
What?
I know you were the top of your class.
Prom queen, all of that.
Prom queen. Okay, student body president.
All of that. That was everything. N of 1. Thank you.
Listen, can't beat her. You can't put pressure on pressure.
Period. Oh God. Let's talk about some pros and cons.
I have a few to keep it pinpointed. Let's start with the cons so we can end on a good note.
Yeah.
My two biggest cons from my personal experience being an athlete. First one was the time commitment. Now, before you jump down my neck, I know what I signed up for. I truly do. I truly do. But there are only specific moments in which the time commitment tampered with just my personal life, you know? There were some big events I wasn't able to go to because I was in season or I was traveling that weekend. So I think my push to go into a master's degree that was online is so I had the freedom to go where I wanted to go, where I needed to go, whenever I wanted to go, and I could just take my laptop with me.
Yep.
So that was one. I missed a wedding specifically that I now wish I was able to
be
attend.
at. Yeah.
Yes. So that, and then the other thing, and I've talked about this openly as well, is although the transition from high school to college athletics, I had that good foundation. The biggest change I felt is that I went from having fun to college athletics feeling like a business, and that pressure to perform, which I do know why, but I think that shift into college athletics is what, I wouldn't say weighed me down. I think my passion was different, or my drive was different. It wasn't, oh, let me see how fast I can run against myself. and how fast I can run for my team, it was also now, am I increasing my points for scholarship money so I
Mm-hmm.
can continue to not be in debt? You know, again,
Right.
single family household, and so I had that pressure on myself to maintain and possibly increase the scholarship, but then just as a whole, at the end of the day, that, you know, a part of it is a business. You know, the
Right.
higher you score, the rankings, you know, where does that lead? Are you going to I don't know, junior nationals? Are you going to the Olympic trials? Are you going to all these things, which is going to bring
Mm-hmm.
you yourself more attention, also the school in which you're running or performing for, um, and of course there are financial gain from that in a
Yeah.
different way that it is now. So at the time, yeah, I think that was a hard transition for me, of some of the fun, not all of it, kind of being turned down because there was quite a bit at stake, or quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit not only you but your university or your team was, you know, reaching for. So
Right.
I mean, it's a higher level of competition. Again, I know what I signed up for, but I think that was a con for me, of just that feeling and that
Yeah.
change. So those would
I
be
feel
my
like,
top two.
go ahead.
Yeah.
I feel like similarly along those lines, like with it being a business, I think sometimes, because this is one of my cons, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I said, along those same lines, I feel like sometimes it was forgotten that we
Mm-hmm.
were still very young, impressionable adults,
Yeah.
young, impressionable
Mm-hmm.
adults. And in our case, like young women, and I think sometimes in the sense, like for the, what's the word I'm looking for? It just became like, we're going to squeeze as much out of you, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and we're going to compare you to this person, compare you to that person, with
Mm.
no like thought behind like what this is doing to you mentally. I think sometimes can be overlooked because it's like, oh, well, you're having a hard time. There's someone on the bench, someone on the sideline, someone who's going to, maybe do more, work harder, do this, that, and the third, and their feelings don't get hurt, that can
Yeah.
take your place,
Mm.
kind of thing. So I think that can make it hard, especially as an 18, 19, 20-year old, still trying to figure out who you are as a person. And you have people and outside factors kind of comparing you to others and saying you're not doing enough, you're not trying hard enough, you're not doing this, that, and the third enough. Um, and I know that wasn't my experience my whole time in college, but
Yeah.
even to just have it for a little bit of time at, like I said, such a young, impressionable age, I think can be one of the cons. So I really commend the coaches who do the opposite of that,
Mm-hmm.
and realize that you're still helping raise young women um, during such a like transitional time of their life.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
Another con I would say is, I think there's a stereotype about being a student athlete, that we're just jocks, and while some of us are, a lot of us are not. Um, and I mean, I've
Keep
had
going.
counselors that are not my athletic counselors, academic coordinators, counselors
Right.
from just the college themselves, who told me that I couldn't pursue the career or path that I wanted to. Maybe I should think of something else because I don't have enough time because I'm a student athlete. Mind you, I can understand a little bit where they're coming from because in season we're missing class Thursday, Friday, like weekly. Okay. Every week.
Okay. Proctored
And
exams on the road.
yes, yes. So to a certain extent, I can understand, but we're studying out there. We're taking the exams while we're on the road. Like, it's not like we're just kicking our feet up going on vacation when we go on these
Right.
travel trips. So I
Right.
think that's also one of the cons, is like the outlook and the attitude towards student athletes sometimes can be negative because they
Mm.
think we're not committed to being a student, but it's student first, student athlete. Like, I can't
Right.
participate in my sport if my GPA is not a certain level, or if I'm not going to class. Like, they will pull me off the court to get
Mm.
that better. So this is where I really appreciate specifically at Colorado, our academic coordinators within the athletic department. Shout out to Medford. I would not have made it through college without that
Med.
man. I
Med.
credit that man with me finishing my degree with the GPA that I did and feeling as well about myself as a student as I did. I credit Medford for that.
Shout
I
out
don't
to
know if they'll
black men
ever listen to
supporting black
this,
women.
but shout out to Medford.
We gonna send it to him. You got mentioned in the podcast, Med, for the impression you
Yes.
left. Okay?
Yeah.
And shout out to
So I would
Corey
say
Edwards. That was mine for a little while.
I liked him. He was great.
He was great. He was great. You
Those would be
you
my
touched
times.
on something that I had written down, but I was like, nah, let me back off. You're right. Because the stick, and again, I think there's variation because again, not every athlete is like me or Nez. I'm not even like Nez, and she's not like me, you know. And how they say it all the time at CU is like, what is your brand? Like, you're creating a brand, you know. So again, there's some student athletes that will protect their brand and do their best by their brand, and there are some that may not as much, but it is student first. And I agree, and literally got into a debate in a class which was about education, which was a great topic. And there was just so much frustration about how student athletes are in class without the understanding that when they want to sleep in and not go to class, those are the days that I'm traveling. Or if they're sick, like I can't have travel days and sick days to be missing class. So you really have to kind of pay attention to what you're able to miss and not for the sake of keeping a grade up or your attendance up. And of course, I'm not saying that on my worst day I didn't force myself to go to class if I was deathly sick. Like there were moments where just like I had to take the L, but that L I couldn't take as freely just because I'm tired.
Right.
So yes, the stigma is very real, unfortunately, but it is what it is, I guess.
Now we are on to pros.
So the first pro I would say is that I myself, maybe you can agree, we had the beautiful experience of being a D1 athlete that not everybody gets to experience. Not that I ever thought I would have that experience. And I think when they told me these 4 years are going to fly by and
I didn't believe it.
You'll never get them back.
Thought they were
When
liars.
I think about it today, like I had a great time as a whole. I had a great time. But now I just step back of like, there will never be another time or
like
opportunity or even being at my peak athletic ability.
No.
There will not be another time. So I hold that experience close to my heart because I was also the first person in my family to go to school for athletics and let it be D1. Like, and I hold that humbly and graciously with lots of gratitude for the support. And I think that's just one of the biggest pros for me, that I had the experience, to just throw it out there. Thank you, God. Yeah. Another pro is for myself, I truly believe being in athletics at CU, really towards the end, those last 2 years where, I mean, you and I were involved in Black Student Alliance, Diversity and Inclusion Group, SAC. And it just gave me so many opportunities to really discuss and have input on what was going on in the athletic realm, or what was going on campus when it came to minority students, even within the bubble of athletics, and what was going on with minority students and being a voice. And I think the advocacy in me was really triggered in a great way in those last 2 years, where I wish that I was involved sooner, which directly aligns with one of my other pros, is that being a student athlete at CU Boulder, sparked my interest in sports psych or mental health and athletics. You know, Nez talked about the how much it takes from a person, but there's give back, but there is a lasting effect. We're
Yeah.
impressionable human beings at a very impressionable time in our lives, straight out of home into the world.
Yeah.
And some of your first experiences outside of your own home and away from maybe where you grew up is this space where you are on a stage. And I just I being a student athlete, the mental health side and then balancing that with athletics, I have a personal view on, and so it sparked my interest to help athletes in the future. So I think beyond just my education of going and being a student, like a true passion started to develop through athletics specifically that still has a
Yeah.
fire in me today. So those are two. As far as outside of that, phenomenal networking opportunities. I wouldn't have the mentors I have today, like the specific ones. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I would have mentors, but the ones that I have today, still from CU, who are now maybe have even moved on from CU, and I still have relationships with. It's been I learned so much. I learned things that I didn't learn being homeschooled at the time. But even just I don't know, they gave me access to knowing how to interview for my master's program, to giving an elevator pitch about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to pursue in my life. And still to this day, when you go and visit CU Boulder, Rick George is so welcoming, so kind, asks you how you're
Yeah.
doing, speaks to you like you just graduated the day before.
Yes.
I didn't go back until 4 years later. And it's just it really is a family, and I hold CU close to my heart to say a lot.
Yeah.
To say
I
a lot
think
in a short
CU,
amount of time.
I mean, I had a great time at CU. We all know that. Um, and I
Yes, we do.
think for me, like I've said, I enjoyed my time. I think it might have been clouded a little bit with stuff that was going on in my life personally at the end. But
Mm-hmm.
when I look back overall, like I had a great time at CU. And after I left, I began to appreciate it even more. Not that I didn't appreciate it
Right.
at the time, but I appreciated it even more after I left. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my pros of collegiate athletics, I would say first and foremost would be the people I met.
Mm.
I think, obviously, you, friend, obviously. But I've made some lifelong friends through college athletics. And some of them are tennis players, some of them are former teammates, and some of them are not, like from different sports altogether. Um, and not just from the States, like people from different countries. Like I have friends to
Mm-hmm.
visit in different parts of the world, which I feel like I don't think there's any way that that would have happened without college athletics. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, I don't think I would be pursuing a career in medicine if it wasn't for my time as a college athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it took me a roundabout way to get to medicine, but I think I can attribute a lot of like my success in med school and my even decision to come here from being a college athlete. There's so many things I learned in my
Mm-hmm.
time as being a college athlete that I didn't even think I was learning that I can, put into practice with what I do every day now. It might not be hitting a tennis ball, but I can use all that stuff that I learned, all those lessons I
Mm-hmm.
learned in that time in my career now. Other pros. Other pros. I don't know, man. You're right. It's really just like a family. Like,
You know?
I could go back there and it's like I was just there.
Yeah.
Like, walk in that building, it probably looks a little different now. And the staff is a little different now. But just being an alumni and being an athletic alumni, like
Yeah.
it's just a completely different feeling. Like there's nothing in the world I don't feel like being other than being like a D1 college athlete. I don't think there's anything like it personally.
That's
Um,
true. Hmm. Hmm.
so I can hold that experience. Like no one can take that from you. You know what I mean? Like we were D1
No.
college athletes. No one can take that
Yeah.
from you.
And I don't know, because I'm glimpsing into the other side of the people who like have like a stigma against athletes. I don't know how that looks coming off of me of having really it's a privilege to be a
Mm-hmm.
student athlete and something I do hold close to my heart in this way where like I don't even know how to word this without it sounding like shallow because that's not my intent. Like there's so much pride in it, good pride
Mm-hmm.
of like I am a part one of this brand, of this family, of this team. It's like you have your small individual team,
Yeah.
but you're a part of a whole
Yeah.
team. And it is like this almost specialized club.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
being an athlete. And again, it's not like, oh, I'm better than you. It's just like there's a bubble. There is a bubble. There's such a bubble where you almost have to really fight to get outside of the bubble to be
Uh-huh.
involved on
Yeah.
campus.
And meet people
But
outside of athletes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it is so special. And I think it's meant to be. It does, when I say set people apart, because you're doing things that you've reached a standard as far as certain criteria or
Mm-hmm.
athletic ability to be able to perform. So
Yeah.
again, it's a blessing. Um, humbly hold that close to my heart as far as having that experience, because not everyone gets it.
Yeah.
Because only God knows again how it leads in how it would go beyond college. And again, we
Yeah.
have different stories in that. But
I mean,
some people are set to go beyond college. Some people have that drive, but some people don't want to. There's so many
right.
outcomes. Like to make it to college is
Yeah.
a
I
godsend.
mean,
So,
I don't know how I could also forget. There is, I
mm,
miss match days. Like competing
oh
on
yeah,
match days, being in the middle of a
traveling.
match.
Oh, that was a pro. Traveling. All
Yes.
the places we traveled to
Yeah.
compete.
We got to throw some pictures up here of us while, during
Okay,
competition
I
so
got
they can
some.
see. You know what I mean? Because
Got an
there's
album.
nothing like
Mm.
being in the middle of competition.
Mm-mm.
Okay, playing well or not, like
Right.
there's nothing like it.
Mm.
So I miss that. I do miss that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ugh, I can feel it coming back. Your body just remembers. Well, all great things do come to an end,
Yeah.
and ours did,
Yeah.
for different reasons.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go first? You want to go first?
I'll go
Give you a
first for this
choice
one.
here.
I'll go
Okay,
first for this
I
one.
got you, friend. I'm here to support you.
So there was a long time I couldn't talk about this without being emotional.
And it's
And
okay if
I
you get
think,
emotional.
oh no, listen, listen.
I create
I
a safe
think,
space here.
go to therapy, y'all. I still need to do more of that, but this is how I
It's
was
okay.
able to get
Mm-hmm.
to a place where I can talk about this without crying about it.
Mm-hmm.
So my tennis career ended after my 5th year. And I was in a place like, do I try it? Do I try the tour? Do I try to play collegiately? Because in my mind, I still wasn't done with tennis, right? Like, I got this extra year. I played another year, and it was a great year. We had a great season, like, made history at
Mm-hmm.
App. Shout out App State. Um, but then it came to the summertime. I already walked to graduation, but I had like 6 credits left to actually finish my degree. So I stayed in Boone for the summer. And I was like, okay, I need to heal from these injuries because I crazily played my last 2 months of college tennis on 2 stress fractures. Love that. And so it was like, okay, we have to heal during summer. So let's take these classes, heal up, work out still in the meantime, and maybe we'll pursue this, playing on tour for a year or two, see what happens. But then I went home after I finished my degree in the summer, and I was pretty healed up at the time. But for those of you who don't know, tennis is a very expensive sport, especially when you're trying to play at a professional level. And I didn't have any sponsors. There was no way that I was going to like financially back this dream. So it was either find a way to finance it or start to pursue your medicine dreams after that. And so the decision was kind of made for me because it's like I always knew that whenever I hung up the rackets, I was going to go into medicine. Like, I knew that after my initial injury in college, I was like, this is what I'm going to do after tennis. But it just came a little bit more abruptly than I would have liked, because I didn't get the chance to pursue the tennis dreams post college. So it was kind of like, well, that's not going to happen. So let's go pursue this other dream that we have. So that was kind of that was tough, because I spent from the time I was 5 all the way till I finished my 5th year of college, like my identity was being a tennis player. My identity was being an athlete. And this is something that we could probably talk about in another episode, but like figuring out who you are as a person after you stop your sport is one of the hardest things to do in the world. And all my fellow previous retired student athletes can understand that. Finding your next purpose, your next passion is so difficult. So I think that's why it took me so long to grieve like the loss of tennis. Like, it took me a long time to grieve that. So yeah, that's how my little career came to an end.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, for it to be so abrupt for you, although you knew the plan was altered. Of course, medicine was going to be there. That was the next stage. But you missed that middle part of pursuing it post college. So I think knowing you and knowing that struggle and talking with you through the grieving process of the first, just understanding that it is a grieving process. Like I think you came to realize that because athletics was more a part of your identity for as long as you played than it was mine. And still, like, I know what felt like an identity crisis after graduating. I had my own, but I can only imagine that it was even more intense for you. And yeah, you did good, friend. Look at you. You shared your story. Look at you.
I didn't even cry.
Good job. You didn't even cry, but it's okay if you do. Again, was not planning to do athletics in college. Okay. So when I say my last race was my last race, and I know my bib number. I know my last race was my last race. And again, it was still hard, but I knew after that race, and there was coaches in Orlando asking if I wanted to continue running, and I entertained it for a little bit. My heart wasn't in it. My heart wasn't in it. Why? I wasn't running with my best friend. I wasn't running with a team. It would have been solo, focused on the 400. My heart wasn't in it, and I knew I wanted something different. I didn't want to devote all of my time to, again, the practice, the having to be certain places. So I put it to rest in that last race, and I remember, now that I look back at photos, it's so ironic, is that I was in heat 3, lane 3, my bib number was 333. And I have a photo, insert photo. I have a photo of the lane. I have a photo of laying on the track with Gabby Scott, now Olympian. Go girl.
Shout out Gabby.
Shout out Gabby.
To you.
Okay, they produce some athletes.
Period.
But yeah, I knew, and I was at peace with it, and I remember just feeling overwhelmingly grateful with that last race and finishing how I did without injury. I didn't have many injuries over the 4 years, thank you God, but without injury, without redshirting, just all the way through and through, and I gave it all I got, and I just wanted to keep that snapshot as it was, ending on a good note. And best thing I could have done, again, hard, lots of identity wrapped up in athletics, which, yes, we could talk about, because I don't know if anyone really prepares for that. When such a big part of your life comes to an end, even if you're prepared for it or not, like, it's just a hard transition, and to navigate your way through it is difficult. So, but yeah, my end was planned and decided by me, for me.
Very much opposites. Very much opposites.
But there are a lot of things happening in athletics today that we never got to experience. So it's interesting to watch, specifically the NIL deals and now college athletes being able to make money. And to me, I have like awesome, this is great, but I also
Right.
have like kind of curious about some things. And for one, why I think it, what I'm curious about, let me start there. What I'm curious about is, again, personal experience of being so young and impressionable. This already was feeling like a business. There is a lot more focus on performance. And
Yeah.
now these young men and women are making money to do their craft. And I don't know if that has shifted the focus of student first, athlete
Mm-hmm.
second, where it seems like, and again, through time will tell, that there's a lot more focus on the athletic piece, especially now that money and support is involved. I'm gonna say I can't generalize and say that's everybody,
Right.
um, but again, a lot more of focus. If that's social media or the media in general, and I'm not just talking about CU because I know we got Coach Prime, go Prime, go Prime, because I know they're in the media, but I mean in a general sense. And this is probably from my like psychology background. I'm interested in
Mm-hmm.
development and the impact on young minds. So my concerns are, how does that change the focus of the student athlete, if at all? How it does impact overall mental space. Like if you do
Yeah.
get injured and you go from making a certain amount of money or having these deals to nothing, and then you're almost geared to rely primarily on the student, and have we
Right.
laid a good foundation there? There's so many questions I have, and again, I think that's my brain from my background, and again, my interest in the balance of mental health and athletics. So those are my curiosity. But then on the other side,
Well,
I
before you
mean,
get to the
I
other side, let
okay,
me so it's kind of like a challenge to your curiosity, or like you're feeling
okay,
like there's a downside.
okay.
So I feel like on a certain
Sorry.
to to a certain degree, I agree with what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, right? Like, are we, preparing them well enough to like be
Mm-hmm.
the student first? Are we just chasing
Mm-hmm.
the athletics so we can get the NIL deals? But at the same time, I think the opportunity of the NIL is
Mm-hmm.
allowing more athletes to stay in college. Because you think about it, there's so many athletes who do a one and done, like a 1 year go to the league, 1 year go to the league,
Mm-hmm.
and may or may not come back to finish their degree. But I
Okay,
feel
fair.
like sometimes with the NIL, you get people thinking like maybe I should stay another year or two or actually finish my degree, because
Mm-hmm.
who knows if I'm going to make it pro, who knows if I'm going to be drafted, who knows where I'll be drafted, who knows what kind of money I'll make in the league. But I know what money I'm making with these NIL deals.
Mm.
Like I know what I'm making. So let me stay a little bit longer. Granted, it's
Yeah.
still like financially motivated. Like it's not like they're like, "Oh, I'm going to stay because I want to finish my degree." But at the
Right.
same time, I feel like they might be increasing like athletic retention and increasing the graduation rates by doing that, um,
Mm-hmm.
because you might be making more money staying in college than you do going to the league
Yep. Angel
for
Reese.
certain
That's what she
athletes.
said. She said I make more money in college right now.
So
I
I'm
remember.
like, that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm like, it could be like a
Mm.
good thing in that sense. Like you're encouraging players to like almost stay in college more and like
Right.
finish their degrees, um, because it's really such a small percentage of people who make it pro anyway.
Right.
So,
Right.
this might be their chance to like capitalize on their athleticism that's
Mm-hmm.
not in a place where they're playing pro.
Fair counter. Fair counter. Not even argument, but statement. Like, I could see it both ways. And again, it's like I can't generalize that
Yeah.
all athletes who are benefiting from the NIL they're like, forget school, let me just be an
Right.
athlete.
Right.
I think, again, both sides.
It's a spectrum
So,
for
and
sure.
right, and I think that's where like, okay, I'd have the concern if it's this side, but then also hearing your side, it's like, well, heck yeah, like heck
Yeah.
yeah, and I've seen stories of student athletes not being in debt or helping pay off
Yeah.
their family's debt. I
Yeah.
think there are benefits, and again, to put yourself through such rigorous training and competition, you do deserve,
Some
a
compensation for
payout
it.
or compensation for
Yes.
that, because the institutions in which you're playing for are benefiting from the work that you're doing and the investment that you're putting into their program. So, yeah, payoff is great. If we are on the side where there's some drawbacks, my hope is that if those come to light, we can fine tune some of
Yeah.
that for this these newer generations of student athletes so that they are prepared um, financially. Because again,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know too much about, I didn't know as much about handling money as I do now in college.
Yeah.
But again, going
Absolutely
back to your
not.
point, maybe maybe they're learning faster. It's so many like maybes.
Maybe. Maybe.
So
Depending on
I
who
don't
they
know.
have around them.
Depending on
Um,
who they have around them, yeah.
I think, not to say that I would have the greatest NIL deals, but I mean, I've seen what, like, my freshman year of college, I was a full ride student athlete throughout college, but it wasn't until I came to Colorado that we started having stipends. Like, because that was even new when we started.
Yeah.
So my freshman year, there was no stipend. It was like everything is paid for, but there's nothing for you to like live off of. Whereas, I think it wasn't until our sophomore year that they started giving us a stipend. So it's like, okay, everything is paid for, plus you can have food to eat
Yeah.
outside of the cafeteria. Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, it's come a long way, and I think
Yeah.
this is part of the cons as well, like pros and cons, like the sports that are bringing money, like the money, revenue sports, they're always going to get the bigger deals. That's how it's going to be, because their face is seen on TV every week. So I think it sucks a little bit for the sports that are smaller, that aren't like revenue making sports. But at the same time, at least they have the opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, you could be big on social media and not be, the starting quarterback of a team,
That's
and
true.
make some money that way.
Yeah.
But it's about them having the opportunity, which I think is really important, because
Yeah.
it's great, but not everyone is on full ride. And even if you are on
Yeah.
full ride, you still gotta, make them coins stretch. So yeah.
Yeah. But I think too, like, if we parallel college athletics to even the pros in any
Mm-hmm.
sport, there are going to be those money making sports and the
Yeah.
smaller sports too. So
Always.
it's likely, just like a parallel of being outside of college athletics. Um, but I see what you mean. And again, we talk about pros, because there's an NIL deals available and you are a part of a team. Maybe you invest in your own brand a little bit more,
Yeah.
just as a person.
Right.
If you're not getting the biggest deals, like I think it's created such an opportunity to put your face out there even more, because you're in, again, that bubble where, I don't know, tons of opportunity.
Right.
So it's interesting. I'm excited, and again, with my hopes of potentially getting into the college realm with work, I hope to see more and learn more
Yeah.
of how it's impacting our athletes, student athletes.
Period.
Period.
Well, I think
Oh,
it's time
talking
for
sports.
I think it's time. Well, listen, we could talk about sports all day. Okay.
Listen. We could try. There, I have a fine, again, part-time athlete. Remember me? No, this has been fun. I really haven't spoken about college athletics in depth in a long time.
Yeah.
So, oh,
This was great. Trip down memory lane. I think it's time we transition to the segment known as Tea Time.
Ooh.
Y'all know what it is.
Tea
We ask each other a
time.
question. We each ask each other a question, answer it, just to dig a little deeper, ask some questions, maybe capture off guard a little bit. You just never know. We never know. So, tea time. Let's get into it.
All right. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Ask you?
Yeah.
You want me to ask you? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Share a personal strength that helped you get through a very challenging time in your life.
So, as much as we loved college athletics. And remember, I referenced I had one of probably my hardest times of my life towards the end there. Um, a personal strength of mine. I think I am way more resilient than I give myself credit for. Um, Looking back at some of the stuff I went through, and was able to balance and still play tennis and show up for class and show up for my friends and all that stuff. I think looking back, I'm like, I don't know how I did that. Um, but I think resilience is kind of a theme for just like me, like as a person, kind of like the different peaks and valleys I've had in my life. I can attribute it kind of all to having this resilience. And I honestly, truthfully, don't know where it came from. I really don't. Um,
Just acquired
but
over
I've got
time.
it. I've got it. I mean, that's what we're here for. It's the podcast to talk about, life and unstable and instabilities. So I feel happy and fine sharing with you guys.
Yeah.
I went through probably the worst depression, like a very, very bad depression, my senior spring of college. Was it senior spring? I
Were
think
you in season?
it was like because it was like a slow burn to this really bad depression. Because it started with me having my shoulder surgery and
Yep.
being out and not knowing if I'd be able to come back to a like level that would allow me to play, high level. Then I lost my grandma in that time. And then I had issues with my partner at that time. And then it all came to a head in the middle of season, and then broke up with said boyfriend. It was real bad. It was a real bad time. Like grieving, loss of a loved one, and then a
Yeah.
relationship, and then trying to figure out how I'm going to play tennis at a high level again. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And
That
still
was a
having to
lot,
show up
friend.
for class and show up for
Yes.
practice and act like everything is fine. Granted, that's another problem for another day. I shouldn't have to
Yes.
act like everything is fine.
No, you should not.
But I think I can, my resilience is really what got me through all that, and my circle. Okay. Because there were times people were just like, let's go outside. Let's just go sit outside for a second. And that was all I needed for the day. This is where I really started to understand the value of therapy, which was during that year of college. Because before that, I was like, who needs that? I don't need that. But that's where I really learned the value of it. So I think back to the original question, a strength that I have that helped me get through one of the toughest times of my life would be my resilience and my just like, I have to get through this. Like I have to, there's got to be better on the other side. And I just have to get through it. Again, shout out to God, because it wouldn't
Lord and
wouldn't be
Savior.
possible without him.
None
Okay.
of it would be. Okay.
Amen. So, anywho, long story short.
Short story long, which is okay. Am I answering your question too? I guess.
That's up to you.
I think mine's fairly quick as far as and I thought about this while you're talking of it relating back to athletics again. As I mentioned earlier that my positive self-talk I think is rooted in athletics. I remember I used to step out on the
She got a lot of that.
and it's been
Lot of
growing
positive self-talk.
ever since. But I used to go out on the track and just tell myself that no one out here is better than me. Like true or not, nobody out here is better than me.
Yeah.
Because I needed to transition my nerves into like excitement or like grit. And
Right.
that was the statement I would tell myself all the time. All the time. And even now, and again, some of the things I say humbly, because I feel like I need to put a disclaimer out there. Yeah, if you know me, I am a humble person. I promise. But like, I don't feel like I dwelled a lot on any like physical insecurities. One if I threw one out, there would have been my height. Very short lived. But I think it's because not only of like how I grew up and the values of my family, but that positive self-talk and track being my coping mechanism to relieve my stress resiliency. Like, I think that just positive talk in general. And now,
Yeah.
even more to this day, I think it's grown since. Like, I'll complain about something or be worried about something and then automatically jump in to say, but my lights are on and this roof's over my head, and like, and I'm doing what I need to do and I'm doing the best that I can. So now it's kind of innate and I'm really proud of that. And I think that helps me get through hard things.
I think I need to continue to take some of that.
Sprinkle, sprinkle.
Just a little bit. Time for your question.
Okay.
All right. It's a little more lighthearted.
That's okay. You know I got the tough ones. I mean, the tough. I'm sorry, friend.
If I planned a surprise birthday party for you, how would you like that? / would there be something specific?
You know I'm an intimate girly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a surprise for me, because you know I've been wanting to do a mountain trip for a long time.
Yep.
I have a winter birthday, and I'm like, my birthday is the one we can do the mountain trip on.
Do in the winter, yes.
I would love. I think that the first thing that comes to mind is a mountain trip with the people I love the most. Obviously, that would be you, my current lover, significant other.
Your man.
Man's. I think that's it. No, I think that about sums it up.
The end.
All four of us. No, because I've made some local friends here, which
yes.
I think I would want to invite them to. But I would want to keep it small. I don't need far off acquaintances and second, third cousins, like my immediate people who know what's been going on, who's been in tune with my life, the challenges, the successes, like who are in this phase. Because I like intimacy. I like to be able to speak to everyone who's in the room or sitting at a table. And yeah, I think that would be a surprise for me. And everybody who comes has to bring a gift, because I don't ask for gifts often. But listen, I'm not going to be ashamed on this podcast to say I would like some gifts.
Bring a damn gift.
If you're coming to the party, bring a gift.
Bring a gift.
It's for me. Thank you. Oh, and my dog. Gotta bring my dog.
Period.
Let's have a cabin that's dog friendly. Okay. But worst case, if I gotta leave her at home, I will, I guess. But yeah, I would like an apple pie or red velvet cake, or both,
or chocolate lava. Oh no, you said we might be done with that phase. We might be done with that phase.
I was really on a binge for I don't know what it was. Thank the Lord it wasn't.
He was heavy on the chocolate cake.
Yeah, I have these weird moments of like I was hardcore into Chipotle. They knew my name at Chipotle. Okay. Chipotle. And then I had the lava. Anyway, off topic. But that would be the surprise birthday for me. What about you?
We already touched on how I feel about my birthday.
I know how you feel.
Anybody doing a surprise at all for my birthday would be tears. Okay.
Is it a big party? Is it a small party?
I don't care.
Do you know where? Okay.
I don't care.
Might just be me. Small. Surprise!
I don't care.
It's just me and the dog.
I don't care. I mean, you know.
Okay.
You know who my people who I would invite, you know, the people who I talk to you about as well, the people I mention on a more regular basis.
Right.
Would be invited. Obviously, some of my family members, you know, I'm tight with them too. But yeah, I don't, whether it was big or small, just the fact that somebody put something together for my birthday that I didn't have to put together would be enough.
Isn't that a relief? Like, plan something for me.
Yes.
I'm special.
I'm sick of doing all the planning, and I don't even do that much planning. You know, I'm a go with the flow kind of girly.
But when she do plan, I be thankful because she gonna plan it. This is why New York was our favorite trip, because she planned it, and I sent the money.
You know, I'm good at the planning. I just don't like to do it.
She is good.
So much work.
Just send me the options. Let me pick. Like, I like to have control, but I don't want to control it all. Which isn't that Delulu? That is.
That's a little cray cray.
It's okay, friend. I got you. So,
Well,
just to be thought of, surprised. Okay.
yes. Well, now that we have been certified yappers for this episode here, anything else you'd like to add before we sign off with our friends here?
Share, subscribe, tell your mama, tell your friends,
Tell your
baby
aunties,
daddy,
tell whoever
auntie.
you want. Just tell somebody.
Tell one person. If you're watching this right now, tell one person. Invite them to come watch.
Come listen to us.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, that's it then.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.